Imagine a long road trip where the designated DJ isn't forced to flip from station to station, avoiding commercials and trying desperately to find a signal. Where you're not forced to resort to endless rounds of the license plate game to kill time. Stop imagining and start listening to commercial-free music from nearly every genre, coast to coast. Subscribe to SiriusXM and your music stays with you, whether you hit the interstate or take the back roads. Call 844-711-8800 to activate your radio now. Things are back, and so are JT, Beyonce, Usher, and Rihanna. Along with the rest of the pop hits that shaped the sound of the new millennium. Let's get it started. SiriusXM's Pop 2K, a non-stop commercial-free flashback to the era of boy bands, telephones, and MP3s. On Channel 10. To hear this channel, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
And you can hear every MLB game on SiriusXM.
This team never stops.
Hear your hometown announcers on the all-new SiriusXM app.
They celebrate at home plate.
And talk baseball every day with our team of former players and executives on MLB Network Radio, Channel 89.
There's just something about opening day of the Major League Baseball season.
Get closer to the action on SiriusXM and the all-new SiriusXM app.
You gotta get there you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, that's it. You gotta get there you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, that's it. You gotta get there you gotta get
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 0184868.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vini Vini Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day. It's called Good Friday, March 29th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit ya, where the good Lord split ya. If that makes sense to you, before driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all over the universe, I want to tell you with the Big C Sports Podcast, it's raining in Dim Dare Hills, California, but it will not rain on my parade. I want to say I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I really do appreciate laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I even do the storytelling. And then I do the play-by-play. Curry for 3! Yes! Golden State Warriors Steph Curry. Every time he makes a three-point basket, he increases the record. He owns it. Every time he makes a 3-point basket, he increases that record. Wouldn't it be great if every time you did something, you increased your finances and your health? I'm telling you, that's amazing what he's doing. And then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City, and then 4 TV platforms streaming: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then I never missed a show since creating Big Street Sports with the crew back in the days at Salem Media. You want to give that some praise, because now we have people who miss practice. I'm not talking about the game, I'm talking about practice. And I never miss a show with Big Street Sports Podcast. Really do appreciate that. But I have had a few complaints. It's okay. Sometimes you got to criticize yourself. Some good old boys told me. I got a lot of older church friends, and some of them said, Big C, we love your show, but if you're open to a little constructive criticism, can we give it to you? And I said, well, sure, I'm open to some criticism. They said, sometimes you talk too slow. I said, too slow? They said, yeah, you got to speed up the way you speak. I said, I'll do the best I can. But what I won't talk too fast is the Veterans Crisis Hotline, because they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anybody going through issues, they do a good job of helping people pick up the pieces. They really are experienced helping loved ones and veterans. If you know anybody going through issues, a veteran, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And it's nice when somebody's leaning back. Really do appreciate that with Big C Sports Podcast. I want to say that I love doing sports. I got some Major League Baseball to talk about today, some power rankings. The Dodgers look really good, and the Braves look really good. I know in Oakland, they had about 13,000 allegedly that showed up inside the stadium, and people are protesting that they may be leaving. But if you don't show up for the games, maybe there's just not enough interest in going to that stadium to support a team. So why would they spend $2 billion for a baseball ballpark in Oakland if you're only getting 13,000 people to show up for your home opener, where they were shut out by the Cleveland Guardians? So that's something that people can think about too when they talk about teams staying. I was thinking March Madness would have Arizona winning their game in LA, but they got knocked out by the Clemson Tigers. And then Alabama, they upset North Carolina. So all's fair and love and war with college basketball. But I want to say I'm the only sports show in the universe that always pays homage to California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste, especially on a Good Friday. You don't want to waste your mind on a bad Friday either. But it's all good. I want to say I'm going to give it praise, because I always believe in that. Oh, I got a funny story to tell you. Oh, Lord, maybe I'll do the task force. Well, hold on. I'm going to do this first. I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I want to give praise to Attorney Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I want to give praise to Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair. He's brilliant. I actually had him on the show about last week, and then getting a package to him about long-term care entitlements. That'll be going out on Monday. I want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford, because he's brilliant. And I also met with him several times. I'm going to get a package to him about long-term care and the issue with CalPERS. And I'll talk about it on Big C Sports Podcast. You won't hear about that with other programs, because the solutions that we have can help a lot of people. And if they can get the word out, then that to me is what they're probably wanting to do, if that makes sense to you. I want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery-Stebbing. She's brilliant. Love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones-Sawyer, who's also going to get a package on long-term care, the entitlements, because people got to know this stuff that I talk about Big C Sports is real. And he's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant, and I love giving him praise. I say give him praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And as oh my God, I got to tell you the story. This happened to me today. And why do I have the credibility to talk about this with Big C Sports Podcast? I got written up by, it's a good thing when you get written up. It's not a good thing when the CHP gives you a write-up, if that makes sense. But that's been a long, long time ago. I want to say I got a write-up on reparations by the Associated Press. It was March 30, 2023. It says Charlton Curry of Sacramento, California, who discusses reparations on his Big C Sports podcast, and that cash payments are necessary and that money talks. When the Associated Press calls you to get your opinion about reparations, and you're a sports guy, you got to give that some praise. I say give it praise, because what I'm going to tell you, to me, is ironic. I got a text. It came to my cell phone, and obviously it probably came to a lot of people's cell phone, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you know I'm big on reparations and talking about reparations and for descendants of child slavery. And there are some people who think, oh, we don't need to talk about reparations. That's divisive. If you ask for money that's owed to you, that's divisive. Well, it's not divisive. Listen to what happened to Big C. I got a letter. It was actually a text. It says March is an FEC deadline month. This means that at the end of the month, we will be required to report how much money we've raised, and everyone would be watching. You got to keep that in mind. This came from President Biden needs you now more than ever. And I've been talking about reparations for a long time. He's asking me to contribute $20. I kid you not. I've been talking about reparations and how the federal government can do the right thing. It says donate before our end of quarter deadline to re-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I wish them the very best. It's going to take, think about what it says, it's going to take this full team having Joe and Kamala back to deliver 4 more years for Democrats in the White House. To finish the job, will you pitch in before the quarter ends? And they're asking between $10, $25, $46, $100, $250, $1,000, $2,000, and they're asking for more. And in order to contribute, it says contribution rules. I am a U.S. citizen or a lawfully admitted permanent resident, i.e. a green card holder. It says this contribution is made from my own funds, and funds are not being provided to me by another person or entity for the purpose of making this contribution. It says I'm at least 18 years old. I'm not a federal contractor, and I am making this contribution with my own personal credit card and not with a corporate or a business card or a card issued to another person. Now, I got to tell you, to me, that's ironic, because I got to say this because it's important. It came to me, so I may as well share it. It said contributions to the Biden for president are not deductible as charitable contributions for federal income tax purposes. And this campaign does not accept contributions from corporations or their PACs, unions, federal government contractors, national banks, those registered as federal lobbyists or under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, SEC named executives of fossil fuel companies. Yada, 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 on and on and on. I want to finish with this. It says, I've been talking about reparations, and people say, oh, Big C, you must be out of your mind asking the federal government to pay reparations. It says to comply with the federal laws, we must use our best efforts to obtain, maintain, and submit the name, mailing address, occupation, and name of the employer of individuals whose contributions exceed $200 per election. By submitting your contribution, you agree that the first $3,300 of every contribution will be designated for the 2024 primary election, and any additional amount up to $3,300 will be designated for the 2024 general election. Now, for people that say, man, you must be out of your mind, Big C, asking President Biden to sign for reparations now, reparations forever. But I think he beat me to it. He beat me to it. And no matter who you vote for, I know POTUS is asking people to give him money so he can run for presidency or pay his legal bills, whatever it is. And at the same time, when people say, when the descendants of child slavery ask for reparations, that we must be out of our mind. And some people say, oh man, that's never going to happen. And when you think about it, the irony of the President of the United States asking for a donation, and Trump and Biden are doing it, but they don't want to talk about reparations. But I'm an African American, and it came to my phone. So I thought it was necessary for me to talk about it. And I want to say, if you get the money, I got to give you praise because at least you're asking. All I'm saying, if when I get my reparations, I will donate some money, give that some praise. That's what I was waiting for, to make some donations. I was waiting on my reparations. If that makes sense to you. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You know what I also believe when it comes to protecting, preserving your assets, I want to say a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth. RDC Consulting Inc., in conjunction with the law offices of Scott Thibodeau and attorney George Jones. The Missing Link, Long-Term Care Solutions by the Book, helping seniors get their benefits over 3 decades of experience. It has to stand for something. Over 3 decades of experience helping our seniors with home long-term care, Medicare, Medi-Cal in California. Those things all matter. And that's what I love about working with the RDC team in Big C Sports. And the reason for the RDC team in Big C Sports, as the president is asking for donations, your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options. Now, I told you I'm making a commercial. Now, some good boys say I talk too slow. So forgive me if I try to speed up my enunciation. I want to say, why the Big C team? Yeah, Big C, why the Big C team? And are you going to send the president some money? I'm waiting for my reparations, and I'm going to donate a lot of that money back to the president when he signs reparations. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, the donation or the reparations? I mean, the answer's in the palm of your hand. It's called an ink pen. You sign reparations in the law, and the group that voted as a monolithic group that got you in office, they'll have the money to give you donations. You got to give that some praise. Give it praise. But my commercial says, our promise to you, to specialize and navigate maximum long-term care benefits. You know anybody dealing with long-term care benefits? Because we do that with the RDC team. Protection of your assets without the spend down. You know anybody trying to protect their assets, if that makes sense to you. Without the spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities. Prescriptions, medical equipment costs, and more. Do you know anybody dealing with skilled nursing facilities, especially the clergy? When people ask you for helping and dealing with long-term care for their loved ones, you know, it's an entitlement you can get with the RDC team. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. Prescriptions. You know anybody taking prescription medications? You know anybody taking prescription medications? Almost every day. If people are taking something, and that's what you get with the RDC team, that's important. You know anyone dealing with medical equipment costs and more? Well, we deal with that too. That's important for people to understand that. That's what I say about RDC. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. You got to know that's so important that you can get that help. You won't want to miss today's show. I know I'm going to talk about some baseball too, and I'm going to talk about some basketball, but things that are so important as I tell you why RDC, you avoid the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program, which can be from 10 to 40%, a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. You got to give that some praise. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. Is that all, Big C? Well, I'm glad you asked. Protection. Insurance coverage required by law. General liability, workers' compensation. We have lawyers specializing in living trust, which solves a lot of problems. Medicaid and Medi-Cal. Planning for long-term care. Avoiding probate. Life insurance. What else, Big C? I'm glad you asked. Fixed assets, your bank account, checking account, savings account, money market account, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, fixed indexed annuities. What else, Big C? I'm glad you asked. Variable assets, real estate, qualified money, IRA, 401k, and other investments. Attention business owners, find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. And we get the endorsements of civil rights activists, United States government agencies. I'm telling you, it's important. Got some things I'm working on that has been asked about, wanted to see what the trust entail from some people high up in government. That's going to be going out next week. And it also helps people who have CRS. What is CRS, Big C? It's when you can't remember shit. Excuse me. I told you allergies are really big in California, where there's a lot of trees and sometimes my nose has been plugged up with the allergies. I don't have a cold, but sometimes I have a little allergy. But CRS stands for, if you know anybody who can't remember, excuse me, gotta sneeze again. I thought I had a sneeze switch, but I don't have a sneeze switch on my platform. Okay, but can you say what CRS is? Can't remember, but I can't hear the other part, Big C. CRS, if you know anybody who can't remember, excuse me. Man, these allergies are something else. If you know anybody who misplaces their car keys, if you know anybody who can't find their wallet, if you know anybody who can't remember where they put their purse, and sometimes they forgot they had an appointment and it already happened an hour before you remembered it, you probably have CRS. What's CRS, Big C? It means you can't remember. Excuse me. Well, give us a praise if you have CRS because we have a solution for that. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. And when you deal with people who want to help you control or protect and preserve your assets, who are their endorsements? We have the endorsements of Mr. George Jones, attorney at law, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also a California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We have the endorsement of Mr. Leon Woods, Resource Development Consulting, works with some of the top lobbyists in California. We have the endorsement of Miss Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. We have Mr. Ray De La Cruz, who's the CEO of Resource Development Consulting. Been doing his thing for over 33 years. We have Mr. Alex De La Cruz, the founder of American Veteran Benefits. And then you have the Big C team, Charlton Curry, business development consultant, been doing his thing with insurance really since college, but over 2 decades. You got to give that some praise. And some of the things we're going to talk about, you got to understand why the Big C team is so important. I also want to say, I want to thank the National Black Wall Street Project because we want to do our part in making sure people have their economic awareness. I want to thank Double O, part of the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She has her own economic awareness talk show called Let's Eat. Really do appreciate her. Sent me Executive Order 13985, and that's what President Biden signed into law when he first got elected, and how they're going to reinvest in communities of color. And obviously we want to see the reparations. Reparations talks a lot louder than other things, but it said Executive Order 13985 on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's the White House. Now, I hope I'm not talking too slow for some of my older friends that say, man, you talk too slow. I'm doing the best I can. I want to thank Georgetown University. They pledged reparations, $1 billion and counting, for descendants of child slavery that were sold off to help pay off the debt for Georgetown University. And it's still counting. I want to thank Double O, payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project, sent me this article from the United Nations. Says that strong political leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for descendants of child slavery. And that's important. I want to thank Brother Aleem Shabazz, part of the owner of Crescent Sports Media. He also did some videotaping of an event with a great program that's going to start going out nationwide. I want to give that all some praise. I want to get praise. But I want to say, before I get into baseball, I want to just touch on something that it's going to hit really in April, because it's already happened, and a lot of people may or may not know about it. But CalPERS, to pay $800 million settlement over claims, think about this, that it misled retirees on the cost of long-term care insurance. The California Public Employees Retirement System, called CalPERS, headquartered in Sacramento, California. In summary, retired California government workers will get tens of thousands of dollars if they give up their long-term care insurance. What? To give it up? Yeah, CalPERS is preparing to pay out roughly $800 million to settle claims that it misled retirees when it began offering long-term care insurance in the late 1990s, and pledged it would not substantially raise rates on certain plans. The nation's largest public pensions fund in the 1990s, in the early 2000s, would you believe that? Sold long-term care insurance with so-called inflation protection that members believe would shield them from dramatic spikes in premiums. CalPERS nonetheless hiked long-term care insurance rates by 85% in 2012 and continued to raise fees in subsequent years, straining the household budgets for retirees on fixed incomes. CalPERS, you can read it, you can Google it. So the settlement, tentatively approved by a Los Angeles Superior Court judge earlier this month, will resolve at least a lawsuit that centers on the steps of 2012 increase. I'm telling you that it was a $2.7 billion lawsuit, and they settled for $800 million. And the attorneys, they got 10% of that, I believe, which is like $80 million. The previous agreement would have cost CalPERS as much as $2.7 billion, and it required retirees to drop their long-term care plans. That's egregious. In exchange for payments of as much as $50,000 apiece. That's egregious. You know why I love working with the RDC team? Because we have a plan to protect and preserve and transfer wealth. Well, how do we get that, Big C? 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. That's why you got to give Big C Sports some praise. We're talking about reparations and how to do things right. CalPERS, they avoided the $2.7 billion lawsuit. They settled for $800 million, but they're telling the retirees, here's the money, but you got to use your long-term care benefits. Well, RDC has a solution. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. Give that some praise. And that, to me, my goodness, how do you do that? That's a punch in the stomach, if that makes sense to you. But I want to take the time to pay homage to the late Lou Gossett Jr. He became the first African-American man to win supporting actor Oscar. He passed away at 87 years old. And if you know the great Lou Gossett Jr., he's the first black man to win supporting actor Oscar and an Emmy winner for his role in the TV series miniseries called Roots. That was directed and produced by the late Alex Haley. And he was 87 years old, had a good life. And then Gossett's first cousin, Neil L. Gossett, told the Associated Press that the actor passed away in Santa Monica, California. A statement from the family said that Gossett passed away and no cause of death was revealed. So it happened, they said, last Friday. And then Gossett's cousin remembered a man who walked with Nelson Mandela. I just had on the program Amos Brown, civil rights leader, just last week, who also dealt with and met with Nelson Mandela. Isn't that amazing? And who was also, they said, that a great joke teller, a relative who faced and fought racism with dignity and humor, even though Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says there's no racism in the country, never has been, and even Nikki Haley said the same. I don't know what they're thinking about. But never mind the awards, and never mind the glitz and the glamour, the Rolls Royces, the big houses in Malibu. It's about the humanity of the people that stood for his cousin. So Lou Gossett Jr. always thought of his early career as a reverse Cinderella story, with success finding him from an early age, propelling him forward to the Academy Award for an officer and a gentleman. Also, Lou Gossett Jr., he broke through the small screen as Fiddler in the groundbreaking 1977 miniseries called Roots. And that depicted a lot of the atrocities of slavery that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis doesn't understand and he can't remember. See, he must have CRS. And also Nikki Haley, she doesn't understand that America had slavery, so she can't remember CRS. She says the Civil War was not fought about slavery and the ending of slavery. But if they watch Roots, they can see that Lou Gossett Jr. won an award, if that makes sense to you, back in 1977. It depicted the atrocities of slavery. Oh, we don't deserve to pay no reparations. Think about that. The sprawling cast included Ben Vereen, LeVar Burton, and John Amos. Even O.J. Simpson was in the movie Roots. That's amazing. Gossett became the third black Oscar nominee in the supporting actor category. In 1983, he won for his performance as the intimidating Marine drill instructor in An Officer and a Gentleman, opposite Richard Gere and Deborah Winger. He also won a Golden Globe for the same role. More than anything else, it was a huge affirmation of his position as a black actor. He wrote in his 2010 memoir, An Actor and a Gentleman. He had earned his first acting credit in his Brooklyn High School's production of You Can't Take It With You, while he was sidelined from the basketball team with an injury. I'm telling you, there's so many great things that Lou Gossett Jr. did. He said, when you think about what happened in his great life, he attended New York University on a basketball and drama scholarship, and he was soon acting and singing on TV shows hosted by Ed Sullivan, Red Buttons, Merv Griffin, Steve Allen, and many, many more. So when you think about the history of Lou Gossett Jr., I remember him mostly for his role in Roots. In 1959, Mr. Gossett received critical acclaim for his role in the Broadway production A Raisin in the Sun, along with late actor Sidney Poitier, Ruby Dee, and Diana Sands. He went on to become a star on Broadway, replacing Billy Daniels in Golden Boy with Sammy Davis Jr. in 1964. Gossett went on to Hollywood for the first time in 1961 to make the film version of A Raisin in the Sun, and he had bitter memories of that trip, staying in a cockroach-infested motel. Because of Jim Crow, you could not stay in the best hotels. Nikki Haley and Governor DeSantis, they don't understand that. That segregation made them stay in less desirable hotels. Infested, cockroach-infested. But it was one of the few places that allowed African Americans. Oh, America's never had a race problem. We don't need to talk about reparations. In 1968, he returned to Hollywood for a major role in Companions in Nightmare, NBC's first made-for-TV's movie that starred Melvin Douglas, Ann Baxter, and Patrick O'Neal. This time, Gossett was booked into the Beverly Hills Hotel, and Universal Studios had rented him a convertible driving back to the hotel. After picking up the car, he was stopped by a Los Angeles County Sheriff's officer. Think about that. Who ordered him to turn down the radio and put the car's roof up before letting him go. Within minutes, he was stopped by 8 sheriff officers and had him lean against the car and made him open the trunk while they called the rental car agency before letting him go. Oh, America's never had a race problem. He said he understood that he had no choice but to put up with the abuse. It was terrible to be treated that way, a humiliating way to feel. Gossett wrote in his memoir he realized this was happening because he was a black man and had been showing off with a fancy car in which, in their view, he had no right to be driving. They call it driving while black. So after dinner at the hotel, he went for a walk and was stopped a block away by a police officer who told him he broke the law prohibiting walking around residentially Beverly Hills after 9 o'clock p.m. Oh, I don't believe that stuff happened, Big C. Well, 2 other officers arrived, and Gossett said he was chained to a tree and handcuffed for 3 hours for walking while black in a white neighborhood. Now, he was eventually freed when the original police officer car returned. And now he'd come face to face with racism. It was an ugly sight. I know you want to know who won the game. But this is why we got to stand up for good people and doing the right thing. But he said he was not going to let it destroy him. In the late 1990s, Gossett said that he was pulled over by police on the Pacific Coast Highway while driving his restored 1986 Rolls Royce. And he told the officer told him he looked like someone they were searching for. But the officer recognized it was Lou Gossett Jr., and then he let him go. Think about what he did. He founded the Eracism Foundation to erase it and help create a world where racism does not exist. Gossett made a series of guest appearances on shows such as Bonanza. Anybody hear of Hop Sing? Hi, I'm Hop Sing. I'm going to get you some rice. Hop Sing played a role of a subservient person so he could get along. And then the Rockford Files, the Mod Squad, McCloud, and a memorable turn with Richard Pryor on the Partridge Family. August 1969, Gossett had been partying with members of the Mamas and the Papas, and they were invited to actor Sharon Tate's house. He headed home first to shower and change his clothes. As he was getting ready to leave, he caught a news flash on TV about Tate's murder. She and others were killed by Charles Manson's associates. That night, there had been a reason for escaping this bullet, he wrote. And when you think about Lou Gossett was born on May 27, 1936, in the Coney Island section of Brooklyn, in New York, you got to think about what he's done with his life. the Oscar gave him the ability to be able to choose good parts in movies like Sadat and Iron Eagle. And he said in Roots, Gossett said in Dave Craker's 2024 book, 50 Oscar nights, he said his statue was in storage. I'm going to donate it to a library so I don't have to keep an eye on it. He said in the book that I needed to be free of it. So Gossett appeared in such TV movies as The Story of Satchel Paige, great baseball player, Backstairs at the White House, The Josephine Baker Story, in which he won another Golden Globe, and then Roots Revisited. But he said winning an Oscar did not change the fact that all of his roles were supporting roles. He played in Partridge in the 2023 remake of The Color Purple. Gossett struggled with the alcohol and other addictions for years after his Oscar win. He went to rehab where he was diagnosed with toxic mold syndrome, which he attributed to his house in Malibu. In 2010, Lou Gossett Jr. announced that he had dealt with prostate cancer, and men should all get checked for that, which he said was caught in the early stages in 2020. He was hospitalized with COVID and also at that time. But he survived by his sons, Sadie, and a producer, director from his second marriage, and Sharon, a chef whom he adopted after seeing the 7-year-old in a TV segment on Children in Desperate Situations. His first cousin is actor Robert Gossett. I just want to finish saying about Lou Gossett Jr. I remember him mostly for his strength in the movie Roots, the TV series Roots by Alex Haley, and how Officer and a Gentleman, the man had such great stamina to be born in Brooklyn, deal with all the racism in the garbage, and then became famous through persevering and not giving up. But I know a lot of times people think, well, you can overcome things that some politicians say don't exist. It's amazing that we have some, I think there's 30 out of 50 states trying to do away with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Lou Gossett Jr. had to deal with that crap. Jim Crow. But he kept his head up. But it wasn't easy, but he did it. So I just want to acknowledge, my goodness, I'm doing Big C Sports Podcast and talking about the late Lou Gossett Jr. And I remember seeing him in Roots. And also Officer and a Gentleman and a lot of other movies. But the one for Roots really impacted me a lot, because Alex Haley chronicled what happened through slavery. And I'll never forget how oftentimes it created great dialogue and conversation. People of all ethnic groups realizing, oh my God, this really happened? Of course it happened. And when you watch Roots, and how do you deny that we deserve reparations? And the same time, President Biden sent him a text to my phone, and probably a lot of your phones too, asking for donations. President Trump's doing the same thing. They're asking for money from people who are having a time trying to buy gas and pay for their bills. If reparations were passed, it'd be easier to pay and donate. But I just want to say to the Lou Gossett Jr. family, I appreciate all the great things and seeing how strong his role was in Roots. I mean, to me, there's a lot of things that I grew up with, born at the end of Jim Crow. But seeing men who were born in Jim Crow, my parents born in Jim Crow, how they were rising and shining anyway, but they shouldn't have to be against such vitriol. Even to this day, there are people who put a roadblock in front of African Americans. Maybe it's part of their genes. Maybe they're just raised that way. Before they go off to church on Easter Sunday, they know they're up to no good. Not everybody, but the people who are, they know who they are. But I want to give some praise to the late Lou Gossett Jr. for just being an inspiration for people in motion pictures and acting. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624 for Big C Sports with the RDC team. I want to get into Major League Baseball. Baseball runners on first and third. The couch for the pitch. Curveball, swung on, hit deep. Right field, back to the wall. Home run! Say hello to my little Riz. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. We know Major League Baseball is really doing its thing. The 2024 Major League Baseball season continues to creep up on us. And now it's here. We just got through the opening day for most teams around the country. and people, whether you sit on the upper deck or you have box seats right behind home plate. It's a great game. It's a long game. They're trying to speed it up. But when you think about what baseball's done, it's brought a lot of people together. But in the meantime, I want to talk about some of the top baseball stadiums to go see a game. And I know in Northern California, with the Oakland A's and the protest around the Coliseum yesterday, because people are torn about losing a baseball team, but I'm saying a lot of people don't show up anyway. So how do you really get mad at an owner for wanting to leave when they don't get support? And why would you support someone who wants to leave anyway? But it's just Oakland has lost the Golden State Warriors. They went back to San Francisco where they originally came when they left Philadelphia, but they're still the Bay Area team. Oakland's lost the Oakland Raiders. Now they're in Vegas. That's a long drive to go see the Raider game, or on flight. And now they're about to lose the Oakland A's. Now, they were talking back in the day, they wanted to go to San Jose. That was fought by the Giants. And then they talked about going out to Fremont. That was fought by the Giants. And then there's talk of them going to San Francisco. That's being fought by the Giants. And now if they leave to go to Las Vegas, what a shame that the Great Bay Area, the fourth largest media market in the United States, could be with one baseball team. And that's the San Francisco Giants. You know, the 49ers, when they left Candlestick Park, they stayed in the Bay Area. They went to Santa Clara, about 40 minutes south. But before Candlestick Park, they played at Kezar Stadium, which is in Golden Gate Park. But they stayed in the city. They stayed in the Bay Area. So that's the love that you still have for the 49ers, even though I missed the location they had at Candlestick Park. Even though it's a little bit colder, it just felt more like San Francisco than Santa Clara does. But that's where the headquarters are. But if the A's are going to leave, when you see the crowd last night, about 13,000 announced, they may have been announcing people who also paid to get through the parking lot. I don't think there were 13,000 in the seats last night. But that's the way it is, and they were shut out. But I want to talk about some of the top. I'll get into power rankings next week because I want to see, getting through Easter, what team have done what. But I want to say, for a great place to watch a baseball game, I got to go number 10 is Coors Field for the Colorado Rockies. It's a gorgeous setting. It's breathtaking. The facade outside of the home plate entrance with Coors and field wrapped around a clock makes for such a nice entrance. And the playing surface itself is top-notch. The outfield provides a high wall, and they're right along with an assortment of trees and the water features below. I mean, it's a great place. The ball travels far up when you're a mile up in the air. So Coors Field obviously makes the cut for a Big C's top 10 baseball ballparks. The Oakland Coliseum, it would have made the cut for me. Before they built Mount Davis, you could actually see the East Bay Hills. I would say for Oakland trying to keep the A's in town, there was talk about going to Jack London Square. If they were to just tear down Mount Davis and renovate the Coliseum, it's in a place where they won championships back in the 70s. And even in the 80s, they were right there with the Giants. But I want to go number 9, Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas. It's a polarizing choice, but there are a lot of fans who hate it. And we get to see a relatively normal right field before getting to center field. It used to have Towles Hill and a flagpole and play in deep center, but that was cut out a few years ago. The new batter's eye resembles foliage instead of just being a blank screen in space. It has an Astros logo in the middle of that. That was a nice touch, but this is about the left field, though there's a giant window to see outside when the roof is closed, and above everything else, there's a train on some tracks. It comes out and blows the horn on home runs, and I'm going to try. Runners on first and third. They pitch the count. Oh, hit! Deep right field! Back to the wall. Home run! Hit! Okay, that train. We want a real train, Big C. We didn't have a real train. I did the best I could, but people like and don't like what's going on in Houston with the ballpark, but I think it's a great-looking ballpark. That's my strategy to stick with it. I'm going to go number 8. If you believe the San Diego Padres, they used to play at Qualcomm Stadium, and then they built the great Petco Park in a part of downtown. You can see the water, but they've also built high-rise buildings around it. It's become a great place to watch a baseball game. Looking out over the open air outfield is a beautiful sky, given that San Diego's weather is usually very nice. Left field has the Western Metal Supply Company building. They incorporated the original building into the ballpark as suites. When you think about how beautiful San Diego is, and then next to a lower hanging upper deck that lies beneath a giant scoreboard and a video board, there's a beach area in center field next to the bullpen, and I think right field corner is a little bit tricky. But I love that stadium. I love what it's done for downtown in the San Diego area. They found some land and they built on it, and now obviously it's one of the most beautiful stadiums in baseball. That's my story for Big C Sports. I got to go number 7, Kauffman Stadium, the Kansas City Royals. It's been there for many, many moons, but since I'm going to think about the ballpark not being that close to downtown, being surrounded by acres of parking lots, not right next door to Arrowhead Stadium, is kind of a plus. Kauffman shoots up the rankings. Over the outfield wall is Kauffman. You'll see fountains all over the place, and I love the way they shoot the water up in the outfield. And that's a great, I mean, they have the humidity in Kansas City, so that helps too. But home runs landing in the water is such a great feature, in my opinion. Also, I really appreciate the huge video board in center field being essentially a Royals logo with a crown on top. And what I love saying is runners on first and third. The counts for the pitch. Curveball, swung on, hit deep, center field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friends. They say the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep, and I love when they have the splash, when it splashes in the fountain. So that's a great thing for me when it comes to baseball, and I love that place. I want to say number 6, and some people might say that's a little bit low, but I have Chavez Ravine Dodger Stadium, an aerial shot where you can see downtown Los Angeles. It's a bit back from behind home plate, are pretty beautiful. No ballpark in baseball can match walking in from behind home plate. When you think about standing atop the ballpark, looking over center field to see mountainous background, the video boards, the zigzag metal roofs over each side of the bleachers, and the outfield are nice. It's a unique feature. Dodger Stadium allows you to see out. You can see over the home field fence, the home run fence. You can see the backdrop of the sprawling hills at Dodger Stadium. It's a beautiful sight to see, and obviously Dodger Blue, they're a great franchise in baseball, not just on the West Coast, even though everybody says they spend too much money, but they're trying to win championships. You know what else is a nice touch? The colors of the seats on different levels are done to mimic being at the beach, with dark blue at the top, represent the sky, lighter blue levels down, and eventually yellow for the sand that you get on the beach of Southern California. I really think it's a great ballpark, in my opinion. I'm sticking with it. Number 5, I got Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Again, thoughts and prayers to the great people of Baltimore that are dealing with the tragedy that happened with the bridge this week. But there's an argument to be made that this is the most important ballpark in baseball. Why is that the most important ballpark argument, Big C? Because it's one of that finally feeds us from the shackles of the cookie-cutter yards from the 70s, pushing us forward to the era of retro-style ballparks that we'll see still popping up. I was skeptical when they announced the plans for it. I've come to enjoy the now deep left field dimensions before it just cuts away forward and left center. And then there's a bullpen over the left center and center field walls. Right field, there's still a tall wall with out-of-town scores before we look at the top of it and you fix your eyes upon the warehouse. I'm telling you, if you think about that ballpark in Camden Yards, it's a little bit different, but more people are building ballparks to look just like it, and I think that's a great thing in my opinion. I'm going to say number 4 is PNC Park, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Not quite as common, given that it takes a much more a big home run hit, but players can reach the water too. And this is, I think it's called the Allegheny River on the right side of PNC Field, just over a taller right field, a 21-foot tall in honor of number 21, Roberto Clemente. There's a view of the river, but also a bright yellow bridge that is more center field. Reminds me of kind of like the Tower Bridge in Sacramento where the River Cats play. You can see that too. But when you think about Roberto Clemente Bridge, speaking of center field, the batter's eye was a great touch too. And just below the blank green screen in center is a plot of grass with Pirates sticking to it. There's so much that I love about that ballpark. PNC Park is a great place for people to watch a baseball game in Pittsburgh. And everything about this park is a home run. And I think a lot of people say it should be number 1, but that's my story, and I'm taking with it. I got number 2 is Fenway Park in Boston. A few things in baseball are more iconic than the Green Monster in left field. The right field line is actually closer, though. When I think about the Pesky's pole sitting just about 302 feet away from home plate, moving toward the center, you'll see a very short wall in front of the bullpen. And then I think about a triangular area in center field that gets about 420 feet away from home plate. Also, there's a bar in center field. People love Fenway Park. They've cleaned it up over the years, and some places had that urine smell when some of those Bostonians drink a little bit too much beer with the clam chowder. But at all strand level, we're still a great ballpark. But it is quirky. People love it, and they have their opinion and love it. That's my story. I'm taking with it. But I think about all the quirks. It just makes it cool to watch on TV. And walking up the ramp from anywhere at the ballpark for the first time is something very, very beautiful about baseball and the history that you get at Fenway Park and the Green Monster, if that makes sense to you. And then I got number 2, and people have their own opinion, is the great Wrigley Field in the city of Chicago where the Cubs played. Speaking of which, walking up the ramp on the north side of Chicago, the Windy City, to see the ivy all along the outfield is a thing to see in all of baseball. The famed marquee out front, and then the old operated by hand scoreboard. I mean, you can never get too historical when you still have a hand-operated scoreboard, and that's in center field. Complete the trifecta of old school must-see features in Wrigley Field. In recent years, they blended modern touches like a video board in left field and then a lineup board in right field. The flags that display the current standings above the center field scoreboard are another great touch, and that's where the W's or the L's flag is flown after each game. And yes, there's an L flag that Wrigley Field flies after the Cubs lose, but they love hearing the Cubs win, the Cubs win. And then you have the W and the L flags come about long ago and let train riders know if the Cubs won or lost their game. So people have that when they ride the L when you deal with going to see games at Wrigley Field. But and again, everybody has their own opinion. You can't tell somebody what they're going to like. You can't tell someone what team has the best ballpark if you don't have an idea of what all the ballparks stand for. But I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, when it comes to watching baseball, and I think about Big C Sports and what I love about these ballparks, and to me, you have an opinion, and I have one too. My first baseball game that I ever worked, it was the Philadelphia Phillies at the San Francisco Giants at the old Candlestick Park. It was a cavernous ballpark, and on a weekday, you may have 15,000, 20,000 fans in there. But it had a great history to it. Willie Mays, obviously Barry Bonds, Sandy Koufax. Everybody has their own great players. But I'm going to go the number 1 ballpark in the universe for Major League Baseball is now called Oracle Ballpark. It used to be called Pac-Bell Park and AT&T Park. But it feels like if you ever want to see a great ballpark, not only is downtown San Francisco just to the backdrop of left field, you can see over the San Francisco Bay, over McCovey Cove. You see the Golden Gate, not the Golden Gate Bridge unless you're up high in the right field. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge, but you can also see the Bay Bridge that was built in 1935. But I'm thinking, I'm such a huge fan of this ballpark, the retro style facades. In fact, I was one of the first media at that time, Pac-Bell Park. I was working with Sports Talk USA. So the facades outside of work, it's an amazing ballpark. The skyline is what makes it. If you're down the first base line looking over the left field, you'll see the huge scoreboard and also the glove over the outfield fence, and also get a nice view of the Bay Bridge. Right field has the tall brick wall just in front of the Bay. The splash hit home runs is one of the best baseball highlights we can think about. Just make sure you can swim when you dive into the Bay for home runs. And then on any given day, you can see Barry Bonds hitting one into McCovey Cove, and naming it after an all-time great Giants is a nice touch. And when you think about all the great players seeing the water seemingly surrounding the entire outfield from inside the ballpark, it's as good as it gets. And I haven't even mentioned how great that glove looks with that soda pop. The only thing that could improve it, there's really no soda inside that soda pop bottle. It has a Coke bottle. The only thing that can improve it is that they actually put some real soda inside of it, but they decided not to do that, and I don't know why they decided not to do that. That could make it really a greater event if you could really have soda come out of that ballpark. But why I love, in my opinion, Orca Ballpark more, I loved it when it was called Pac Bell Park because it's right there by the Pacific Ocean, is when I have runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveball swung on here deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. And into the Cubby Cove. Adios, Polito. You know, the Giants, to me, they built a class of a ballpark in San Francisco. And then just down the block, about less than about a half a mile away, you have now Oracle Arena where the Golden State Warriors play. So that's become a great place to go see a baseball game. It can be pricey living in the city, but there's something about that great ballpark in San Francisco. It's must see. If you're on a tour around the country and you want to see great stadiums, there's none better than Orca Ballpark, formerly AT&T, formerly Pac Bell Park, and it's the home of the home run leader in Barry Bonds when he hit 72 home runs. And obviously, he's a home run king, no matter what people think about, whatever controversy they want to come up with. There's no place like San Francisco. What did Dorothy say? She said, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. People have their own thoughts about who's going to do what when it comes to baseball. And if they want to have, oh my God, you know how the Major League Baseball, for the World Series, they have the team that wins the East will play the team from the West, the NL versus the AL, and they have their home. It's a home and home. Could you imagine if baseball did what football does, where you chose, I know, but it doesn't make any sense because it's the best of 7, but if they chose a site where you could have the World Series every year, where you knew it was going to be, it would be great if they had the World Series every year in San Francisco. Oh, you must be out of your fogging mind, Big C. The great Spock. But imagine leaving your heart in San Francisco. It is the most beautiful ballpark in the country, in my opinion. Imagine if they had, even if they don't do that, an all-star game more often than not should be played in San Francisco. And I think that would be a great tribute to a lot of people. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. If you're watching March Madness, may your teams have the great success. I know people are trying to have success in that Sweet 16, and some great games have been happening all over the country. I wish everybody nothing but the best with all the stuff with March Madness and Sweet 16. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You heard Big C's top 10 baseball stadiums in the United States. And I'm going to say Orca Ballpark's the best. That's my story, and I'm going to stick with it. But if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car after they've been drinking and start driving, because the life you save may be your own, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I say, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He is known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I think reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. You know anybody going through that issue? Pick up the phone and call 911. Anyone that loves you, they don't hit you upside the head. Anyone that loves you, they don't slap you. Anyone that loves you, they don't try to make you hurt. You need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always say, I'm so grateful. I want to wish everyone a very happy Easter holiday. Coming up on Sunday, today's called Good Friday. Hopefully we can all find good in our hearts and have more leader in all of our lives as we celebrate Easter on Easter Sunday coming up. I want to give that some praise. I'll give that praise. So as I always say, I appreciate my family. I love my family, all my heart, mind, body, and soul, all my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my beautiful mama, my beautiful father. Really do appreciate them. My beautiful brother Todd. I'm telling you, all my brothers and sisters, and my beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. wish you a happy Easter. I want to wish a very happy Easter to my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always trust God. Always have love in your heart. And remember that God is the answer for everything we need. Always trust God and pray. Do the best you can in life. And then I want to thank Big C with all that wealth and knowledge over the years. Like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. It's been dominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no favorite teleprompters. But what I do say is I got a text from the president today, and he was asking me for some money. I said if I had the chance to sign reparations, I would do what President Abraham Lincoln said. For Easter, you should sign reparations now. Sign reparations forever. Come on, let's honor the great President Abraham Lincoln for Easter. President Biden, you can do it. You got to sign reparations now. Reparations forever. Come on, you guys. You know you can put your heart, mind, body, and soul into it. If you're asking for money, you should pay out money first. All you got to do is sign the reparations now. Sign reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day and happy Easter.